Kaizo Slumber. Um, it's not gonna be using the webcam today, but I pulled up this lovely photo of what represents Kaizo in the universe of what is that a character exactly? It looks familiar. Is that just like
Um, so essentially, it's a character called Torimoti. He's an unused character from Super Mario Galaxy that was like embedded in the files of that game, but were never actually programmed in. So it had certain behaviors, but it wasn't in the game. And it's based off of the Japanese word Torimochi, which means birdlime. And birdlime is like a old substance that farmers would use to put on tree branches to like trap birds
all right?
and like keep them sticking from there.
You
So
know
that's
the
kind of the backstory.
the full lore of.
Yeah, that's.
I guess that's
If
a
you ever
good
wonder what
thing.
that was,
If you're gonna make it your image as an artist, you should probably know what exactly that thing is. It looks very like it looks like I've seen it before. I probably have like just random places on the internet, but to me it looks like it goes deeper than that. Like just me playing Super Mario Galaxy, like it comes through in the game like subconsciously. But
yeah, I think it was a very early enemy used in the game, but it kind of got turned into another enemy at some point.
oh, okay. I think they messed up there with taking it out of the game because it's pretty dope character design. So why did you
Yeah.
like choose to make it kind of like associated with? It does look like a big chungus. Why do you have like a
Yeah.
particular reason why you chose to kind of make it associated with Kaizo Slumber? Or is it just because it looks really cool? It definitely fits the vibe of the music at the very least.
Yeah. Well, I think because Kaizo Slumber, just from the name itself, Kaizo is a lot of my music is not just video game music inspired, but it's also inspired by like ROM hack culture and essentially people turning the sort of old video games and modifying them into like a sort of weird hybrid creation. That's kind of the atmosphere I wanted to give off in my music.
I
It's
definitely
like an
get that
amateurish
atmosphere.
sort of
Yeah.
fun sheen.
I won't lie. I've never got into this. Was it ROM hacking? You said it was.
Yeah,
I never have explored that kind of culture. I mean, I remember when I was younger, my friends showing me some stuff about people who are like hacking Pokemon and making all this creepy, weird stuff happen in the old handheld Pokemon games, which is kind of
yeah,
sounds a little bit similar. But I mean, I'm sure there's a lot you can do with hacking games um, to make some really weird stuff
yeah.
happen.
Like for me, like the sort of ROM hacking that I got into, and like people my age got into, was like Mario 64 ROM hacking. And when I got really into it, I was like very young, and I played a bunch of these ROM hacks, and I was like blown away by it because like Super Mario 64, like even like when I started playing it compared to all the other Mario games I played, felt very primitive and very empty. So I just thought the idea of like these new expansions, these new added things for the games were incredible, and I got really into the ROM hacking. And this was like 10. This was almost like 10 years ago now. So the possibilities for ROM hacking Mario were very limited. Nowadays, you have the decomp project. So you basically have the entire source code like decompiled, and you can use them for like your hacks, and you can essentially do anything you want with it as long as you know how to program in C. But back then it was like very limiting, and that was like major inspiration for me as like a young creative, and that's kind of stuck with me since then.
Wow, I remember when I was in college, I had a friend who like was really into playing the Super Mario 64 game, and I remember there was just like the goal he had was basically just to beat the game as fast as possible, and he could beat it in like half an hour or whatever because there's just so many bugs in that game and exploits in that
Yeah,
game. And that's not even necessarily like hacking anything. That's just
It's just playing with what the game has. Yeah.
Exactly. So I'm sure once you get into hacking that game, you can just do like a ton of ridiculous stuff. So
Yeah.
yeah.
The main medium for like ROM hacking is essentially people making their own, importing new levels, maybe adding a new storyline, completely different music, essentially creating a fan game using the original engine. So it creates like this uncanny, like especially like my favorite ROM hack of Mario 64 was Super Mario Star Road. It was like this. It was released in 2011, and I remember the first time I played. It was like one of the first ROM hacks I'd ever played. Like it blew my mind. It looked like a Mario game from an alternate reality. And like I just Mandela effect transported myself into space and time and found this new game that had never been released before, but now it was made by one guy. I think that's the magic of it. It's like that's what the kind of thing that I'm trying to pull off with Kaizo Slumber is that it has like this very homemade, amateurish edge, but it's also like very clean and polished too.
I agree. Sorry. So I just I've been trying to type in this Kaizo Worldwide B word. Hold on one second. Maybe
Yeah.
let's do this here. Yeah, no, I definitely get those everything. Definitely get all those vibes from your music, video game vibes, nostalgic kind of like internet hacking vibe, which is definitely like a whole universe. Like I said in my review, it's like kind of like nostalgic for me. You know, how old are you, by the way, out of curiosity?
Oh, I'm 18.
Okay, 18. All right, got you. Yeah. So I'm sure the Super Mario 64 stuff looks like ancient to you, but yeah, but like I said in my review, for me it's so cool because you're kind of blending like two layers of nostalgia for me. Like one is this, you know, I wasn't even alive for it really. Like I was born in the 90s, but like I mean, I just remember being really young on the internet with like there's tons and tons of like compilations online of like, you know, British 90s rave music and stuff, which is always fun to listen to. And then
Definitely.
like for me the vaporwave nostalgia stuff, like I remember like listening to like Floral Shop and all those classic vaporwave internety albums like as they were coming out. When I was younger, I was like 15 and I was like thought that was like the craziest stuff. And then now I see you managed to kind of put it together into one album, which is super dope. Kaizo Worldwide B word. We got the Kaizo Manifesto, which a very strong. Yeah, vaporwave is punk. It is. Vaporwave is very punk. It's very much like all about the aesthetic of. I mean, I remember just going all the way back the kind of like mocking consumerism and making fun of just like the cheesiest parts of American culture. So I guess I'm kind of curious. Like, you know, you started under this project. Was it Ace Tantina?
Yeah. So Ace Tantina was like a random moniker I came up with that I was like 13 at the time. And I wanted a username. I couldn't think of anything. It was like essentially a mix of the Aphex Twin track ASAT Santa and just like tinkering with the syllables and also kind of adding a crude joke to it. And where that comes into is the specific part Tina. In Libyan Arabic slang, Tina means ass. So I added that little thing at the end there. Which is not something, which is like, that's like level 6 iceberg lore for all of you listening.
All right, I hope people wrote that down. I mean, this is going to be going on YouTube tomorrow, but I hope, people will put that into the iceberg for sure. So, yeah, so you being Libyan. Did you grow up in Libya and now you're in Germany, or like did you have like kind of family kind of in both countries? Like, what's your kind of like connection between Libya
Uh,
and Germany?
I, I moved around a lot, but I spent a good chunk of my life in Libya. I never lived in Germany, but I visited a lot of times, and I have family there.
Okay, so
So
okay.
yeah, most of my life has been Libya and like mostly the Arab world.
Oh, sweet. So you said you kind of moved around, like where? Yes, definitely check out Kaizo Manifesto if you like Ace Tantina. I
Yeah,
I feel like because yeah, someone in the chat just said that they've been listening to Ace Tantina and they haven't listened to Kaizo Slumber yet. So it's
get
really
on that.
really good. I mean personally, I prefer the Kaizo Manifesto over Ace Tantina stuff. Not because Ace Tantina stuff is inferior. No, the Ace Tantina stuff is really good, but just the Kaizo Slumber kind of hits kind of my taste lately. The kind of like breaks and hardcore rave kind of vibe is just really where my brain's been at lately. Okay, so yeah, you said you kind of moved around a lot. Where
Yeah,
have you kind of been like moving around? You said you were like mostly in the Arab world. Like where have you kind of
yeah.
lived?
So I was actually born in Lebanon, and then sometime in like 2010, I moved to Libya. And then this was like sort of yeah, this was like I remember it's kind of the aftermath of the Israeli-Lebanon war,
Hmm.
which I because I lived in Beirut, I kind of got in the middle of that, and my
Gotcha.
family got in the middle of that. And then I moved back to Libya for like my dad's job, and then come the second civil war, I moved to Uganda, and I lived in like East Africa for a few years, and then I moved to Sudan, and then after that I moved. My family's moved back to Libya. I was supposed to. I was supposed to move back to the. I was supposed to move to the UK at some point for uni, but a lot of like outside factors with sort of. So like to give some context, right now, Libya is trying to start presidential elections, but those have been postponed. So that kind of makes any kind of administrative traveling and like actually like moving out and coming back in very difficult, and like some financial issues. So I haven't been able to start uni yet, but I will this year. So at some point I'm gonna move to the UK.
Wow, that sounds like a very difficult kind of situation. So it sounds like did you leave? So it sounds like you kind of like left Lebanon to Libya,
Hmm.
and one factor maybe of leaving Lebanon was the conflict between Lebanon and Israel, or at the very least that was kind of going around on at around the same
Well,
time.
we moved like after that had happened, but I think that kind of left an impact on Lebanon as a country, and
Okay,
especially now.
yeah,
It's like Lebanon is a shell of what it used to be, and
yeah.
it's
I
not great.
I actually recently made a friend who also grew up in Lebanon, and were telling me just how you know
Yeah, it's not a great
not a
situation.
great situation, and this was also not too long ago. I remember seeing the explosion that happened there. So, and then you move to Libya, and then there's the freaking Libyan second civil war, and then you end
Yeah,
up
we stuck
in
around for the first civil war, and the second one we were like, nah, that's too much. Like
gotcha.
ISIS got involved, we got to get out of here.
Yeah, that sounds freaking crazy. Wow. So when you say you're Kaizo Worldwide, you're not kidding. You've earned the title of Kaizo Worldwide B word.
Yeah,
Um,
I
that's
actually
yeah.
tweeted at Pitbull. I wanted to set up a UFC charity boxing match to claim the title of Mr. Worldwide.
Wow.
He didn't respond,
That
but
would be good. That would be
I'll get
really
her
good for
one
the
day.
album. If you got a good fight going on, I would love to. Well, if you're ever in New York, or if I'm ever, are you back in Libya now or Uganda? Where are you now?
Now I'm in Tripoli, Libya.
Gotcha. Okay. Cool. What's
Actually, how
what's?
tall is Pitbull? I want to see if I could kick his ass.
I think you could. Wait, so what is Tripoli like? That sounds pretty interesting to be like in a, a major city in a country that's kind of been going through a shit ton of war lately. How's that go? What's
Yeah.
that? What's
Well,
Tripoli like?
the war stopped in February of last year.
Gotcha.
So things have calmed down, and now people are starting to get slightly more optimistic about the chances of stability. Tripoli is it's a very interesting city. It's nothing. It's not like any other big metropolis. We're very close to the sea. I can literally walk from like my apartment to the Mediterranean in a matter of minutes, and
Wow.
you have some places that look like they're like some really nice parts of Tripoli, and then you can tell some parts that are remnants of the Second Civil War. Like there's a bank that's like nearby that's just completely derelict. It's like completely bombed to shit, and
Wow.
like
So
yeah,
wow. Gee, I mean, it's kind of nuts because it sounds like a beautiful, beautiful country and city
oh,
that like
absolutely,
the whole. I mean, the whole country and the whole world, isn't really able to fully appreciate that beauty right now because of the conflict. I'm glad to hear things have settled down a bit. I haven't kept too close up with the Libyan civil war over the past decade that it's kind of been popping up in the news,
yeah,
but it seems like a extremely serious situation while you've been living in Libya and actually it's making music kind of throughout a lot of this conflict. It sounds like did it ever get kind of close to impacting you? Not necessarily like running away from freaking bombs and like doing backflips or anything crazy. Although that would be a good story if you have those stories. But like just more like I don't know
yeah.
if there's like economic and political conflict that's kind of come from the war that might. I mean, obviously if you're leaving to Uganda, it sounds like it's having a pretty direct impact on your life.
Yeah. Well, the thing is, when I left to Uganda, it wasn't just the civil war. It was also because of like my dad's employment, but
That's right. Yep.
that had been directly affected by the war. So
Gotcha.
it was like kind of a domino effect. But
Yeah.
the thing is that I'm lucky enough to be of like sort of upper middle class by like the sort of standards here in Libya.
Mm-hmm.
So, and also the fact that I'm also a German citizen, so I get much better freedom of movement than any Libyan.
Wow. Yeah,
Yeah,
that's a great point. The economic and class politics behind it of you got that
yeah,
you got
absolutely. I lucked out.
you can get the hell away from there. That would be a very different story if you were didn't have the money to get out of there, didn't have the citizenship into Germany. So yeah, I guess you kind of can like think to yourself, well, if things really get super dangerous, like you have some perspective that Tripoli could somehow itself be under serious danger. In the back of your mind you can get the heck out of there and go to Germany at least.
Yeah, I could. Thankfully, I don't think that's gonna be very likely.
Hmm.
Usually, all the bad shit happens in like Benghazi or Misrata. It's never Tripoli.
Gotcha.
And
Okay.
Tripoli gets in the shits of it, but still.
Gotcha. Interesting. Wow. Um, pretty. I mean, that's pretty to me. Very, very, very interesting. I mean, I guess being here in the United States, I do see all the time on TV. Um, lots of conflict in the Middle East from various countries that the United States government is involved in, which is kind of why we watch it all under a microscope. But even with all the focus it gets in our media, we only see like the real, violent conflict. But obviously, there's plenty of cities throughout all these countries that are continuing. Like it's just kind of living your life. Not necessarily, it's not like the entire country is really war torn. That's not really how it works. Like there's plenty of
Yeah,
beautiful cities throughout all these countries that are dealing with these conflicts that
totally. And that really depends on city to city. Like the Arab Spring affected like different countries quite differently.
Yeah, that's a good
Like
point. Yeah.
Syria got really fucked over, just the whole situation there. Like
Yeah.
compared to like Tunisia or even Libya, it wasn't nearly as bad. Mostly because like Libya, it just took us a year to get rid of Gaddafi. It was real easy.
Yep. Yep. I remember that was seemed to be one of the smaller headaches during the Arab Spring, but like I said, I don't know the I'm sure you know all the events throughout that era, but all I kind of vaguely know is that there's some there's many kind of revolutions throughout the area across many different countries that all kind of had their own kind of way about going about it. And I remember there was a lot of optimism in the news, and then I remember a few years later that optimism, at least in the American media, kind of faded as it seemed like it was going to be resulting in more and more conflict, rather than just kind of peacefully everybody kind of moves over to some sort of democracy or whatever.
Yeah, that's the thing with revolution. It's necessary for like for many countries. Revolution is like a necessity to get out of a shitty situation,
Yeah.
but it's also incredibly messy.
Yeah,
It
absolutely.
takes years to build back things.
Yeah, I mean, it's actually really funny you say that, because I've thought about that a lot. As punk revolution, punk revolution now. Like, I do have the revolution in my name, and I do talk about having a punk revolution and stuff. And but a lot of look, just reading through history, a lot of the time the revolutions worldwide is not like some fun little event where we all get together and change the world for a better place. It usually involves bloodshed and
A
extreme
lot of
desperation.
rebuilding.
So we're,
But I
I,
think
I will
on
say
like the
there's
lighter
been.
side,
I will say I do
like
feel like I'm in extreme desperation trying to overthrow Fantano. So maybe the message
yeah,
does kind of get across already in my videos. You know.
and like purely cultural revolutions tend to not be as messy
Yeah.
unless you're actually planning to JFK at Fantano.
No,
But
okay, we're on
that's
Twitch here. No, that's
oh,
not happening. Listen up, Jeff Bezos. Jeff Bezos, if you're
I mean,
watching, everything's cool here. We're all giving big hugs and kisses. We're gonna give Anthony Fantano a big hug and a kiss, and he's gonna see the light and step down from YouTube. That's how it's gonna happen.
yeah, in Roblox and Minecraft.
In Minecraft, yeah, the revolution of Minecraft is gonna be nuts. Yeah. So, anyways, this has been already really interesting conversation. But like I said, I just love throughout that your whole record. You've got so many great samples that kind of make the whole album feel super cohesive. For me, the Kaizo Worldwide B word, that to me is like blissful. Like every time I hear that, it's like blissful. Like I feel like I'm just, I don't know. It's just maybe because maybe because we've all been in COVID lockdown so long. It feels like when I hear Kaizo Worldwide, I don't know what I'm allowed to say on Twitch or not. I know they're strict about cuss words, but like I'm saying, it's just like it feels like I'm at a party. It feels like my friend is like yelling over Kaizo Worldwide, and yeah, you are worldwide. You've been all around. I've never been anywhere in Africa, any country. I mean, I've been to like the closest I've came is I went to France. I went to southern France, which like probably the weather isn't that dramatically different from northern Africa, just because geographically they're like somewhat close.
Yeah.
But like, I would love to go to like Morocco or anywhere like in that region.
Yeah.
So.
Hey, if things get better, come to Tripoli. We got cool shit.
I'm going to 100% do that, and likewise, I'm gonna try to get you here in New York City one way or the other. Oh my goodness! I just realized my Van Weezer sweater kind of looks like your album cover of this. I kind of look like that dude right now, because like just like his skin looks like kind of like water, like that's purple. I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's just kind of my observation. Yeah,
And
so I will get you into New York somehow. Whether it's just to hang out, if you want to play a show, obviously we can. We're gonna make sure you have a good time visiting. Have you ever visited the United States?
no, I've never been to any of the Americas.
Gotcha. Cool. It's kind of so you've just been like kind of. I'm assuming you've been to like Germany, right? Because you got family there.
Oh yeah, and I've been to multiple places in Europe, but and
Gotcha.
like a few places in Asia, but not South or North America.
Wow. Gotcha. That sounds pretty cool, man. I mean, this just sounds like a very different life to me because I've never been to Asia either, and like I'm just dying to get Kaizo. We're gonna get Kaizo in the United States, in North
Oh yeah.
America, 2022. We'll make it happen. Um, awesome. So I guess going back to your album, so it sounds like you got Ace Tantina going when you were young. Um, then but you put out a lot of albums that kind of seem like they really got a lot of momentum. You were releasing a lot of this stuff when you were a pretty young kid, and it sounds like probably like 16 years old, and you're kind of developing pretty rapidly as like an electronic musician on the internet that kind of had some pretty good following.
Yeah. So like Ace Santino sort of started as like a moniker for like chiptune stuff. Because I think that was like my cop out was chiptune doesn't require any sort of like major knowledge in sound synthesis. I just need to use square waves and triangle waves. And then like so I'd release some like chiptune material. And then as I got better, I wanted to create more of a hybrid of like non-chiptune and sort of chiptune sounds, and inadvertently I created some of the earliest hexed material. And this is something that I hound on with PK Shellboy, another NA No Agreements member, is that I'm the originator of hexed, and that they owe me cash money for royalties because I invented their whole shtick.
All right, so this used to. I think
And
we need to make sure that everyone just hears this so it's very clear. So Kaizo Slumber, formerly known as Ace Tantina. I guess we could say Ace Tantina was the true inventor of hexed or hexed. How do you say? Is it hexed?
I don't know.
I don't know either. One time I
It's
feel
one of
like
those. It's one of those genres that are just you have to type out. If you say it out loud, you get sent to the Virgin underworld for eternity.
yeah. I mean, I've already locked my fate into the Virgin Underworld a long time
Oh,
ago.
me too. I make hardcore breaks after all.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. But wow, that's so cool. I mean, I guess like looking back when I was a younger kid getting on the internet, like I guess I was learning a decent amount of music, but I just can't imagine being 18 years old and already kind of released some albums that's got some really awesome traction, and
Yeah.
it's clearly you're extremely talented. So like,
Oh, thank you.
yeah, but I mean, your voice is like pretty deep, so I'm like thinking maybe he's not 18, maybe he's like 58, and he's just like trolling me right now, and he's been studying audio waves for decades.
Yeah, but I've had this deep voice since I was 13, so I'd use that to my advantage on like
Damn.
Discord servers. I'd be like, "Yeah, I'm a fucking rugged man. I chug supplements." When I was
Wow.
like actually 13.
Dude, Kaizo Slumber with the biggest balls of any No Agreements records artist is kind of what I'm kind of picking up from this, because
It's true.
that's pretty nuts. 13 years old and you sound way tougher than I sound. So,
Yeah.
but if you were thinking of kicking Pitbull's ass, I think you would probably kick my ass too. So that's how I kind
Yeah,
of.
I found out Pitbull is like 170 centimeters, so yeah, I could definitely kick his ass.
Oh, sweet. Okay, good. And how tall are you?
I'm like 5'9", barely.
All right, so maybe Kaizo Slumber doesn't have the biggest balls of No Agreements.
Well, okay. Well, You know,
I'm just kidding.
It's about the
I'm
muscles.
just kidding, dude. I'm just kidding. Come on. I'm gonna get some shit in the comments on Twitter tomorrow. Like, he's making fun of short people. Punk Revolution now has gone too far. That's what's gonna happen. It's like, no, 5'9" is not short. 5'9" is tall.
Revolution now fans are short.
5'9" is literally an above average human being. So, in terms of height, so I'm not gonna. I mean, I'm like 5'10" and a half. But I like to just jokingly play along, like, oh, if you're under 6 foot, you're short, which is like so not true, because vast majority of people are under 6 feet. It's just a very toxic Reddit kind of mindset that poisons the youth. So so that's what I want to talk about.
I'm of average height, but like the thing is that on my family, I have like pretty tall people on both sides, so I just got fucked. Genetically,
well, you're 18. You know, I don't think you have that much more growth to do. But who knows?
Yeah.
Maybe next year is gonna be something nuts, and you get an extra inch in or something. Who knows?
Yeah, my voice gets even deeper.
Yeah, being short is actually pog. I agree. Being short
makes hide and seek easier.
I will say I feel like shortness is like becoming more and more attractive over time. Like, I remember when I was in high school, the height was like the number one most important thing for determining attractiveness. But I feel like short's making a comeback. I don't know if it's a comeback's the right term.
Inshallah.
Yeah. Anyways, I want to talk about your music. Sorry, I just like really felt like
I like these tangents.
I needed to talk about, you know, your balls and how big they are, because your voice is deep. I'm gonna pretend you're still 13. That's what I think right now. You're still 13. If your voice is the same.
13, talk about my balls. Hell yeah.
Oh, god damn it! All right, all right.
We can change the subject.
Bro, it's just a matter of time before someone chops up some of my videos, like, and puts it on Twitter. I'm excited for it. I'm excited. Okay, so I want to talk more about your new album, because I have a lot of questions about it. Because it's one of my favorite records I've heard in months. Like, I mean, it's awesome. I listened to so many records. I don't know if I said this in the video. Oh, is my computer frozen? No, it's all good. I said this. I think I might have said this in my interview or review of your album. It's like I listen to so many records all the time, of all genres, and a lot of them are really good. A lot of them I love. A lot of them are amazing. But it's such a joy to just kind of get to review a record that's just like kick-ass dance music. Because if I'm reviewing an album that's like slowcore folk, that's like 2 hours long, you know, I haven't reviewed anything like that, I don't think. But it's just like, that's like homework. That's like I gotta sit down and like focus for 2 hours and like think about the lyrics and shit. And you know, that music's amazing. I love slowcore, but if I'm getting to review an EDM record, it's like, yes, I get to re-listen to this album and just freaking vibe to it, you know, and just take notes about what the vibes are giving. So it's like one of the most fun like albums I've ever reviewed, because it's just a ridiculously fun album.
I'm glad to hear that. I think that's part of why I sort of pivoted my sound when I changed my alias, was because I was I think a lot of music, even mainstream music, is a little too vibey. We're too focused on vibes. We're not having enough fun. And I realize, you know, we're in a global pandemic. Everything. But like, come on, where's the unts?
Wait, I think you cut out there. Sorry, I think you cut out there for a second, or my headphones cut off. I don't know. But could you repeat what you were saying back to? You said pop music is too vibey. You want to introduce a little bit of fun, and then what you said?
Yeah, basically, we need tempos higher than 160.
I agree.
That's all I'm saying.
I agree. That's a good vibe. It's a good vibe. I feel like it makes sense. Like if I had to, I always kind of feel like you can make bets, like it's like the stock market of what's going to be popular in the future in the world of music.
Yeah.
Is hyperpop going to get bigger and more influential? Are people going to get tired of it? Is vaporwave still going to be influential? Is hip hop still going to be the main, most popular and successful genre? What's going to happen? If I had to put some money down, I think higher tempos is a pretty good bet, because we live in such a freaking hyper-ass society that freaking you can put your freaking podcasts on double speed. I think people are ready for some freaking boom, 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 boom.
Yeah.
You know?
I think the reason why it's so easy to track those trends is because pop culture is inherently cyclical. You know, we have one thing. This is true not just for like popular music, but like the classical music of so many like cultures and eras.
Very much
like
so.
In the Western common practice era,
Very much so.
you had the Baroque era, which was like ornamental and like full of like weird shit, and it was like very extra. And then classical music came by it and made the notes all smoother, made it more delicate. Then Romantic era came in and made it all like weird and complex again. It's all cyclical.
That is such a great point. I think about that all the time. Even, you know, when I'm listening to music, I mostly listen to music from the 60s onwards. I will occasionally go back to the 50s and once in a blue moon 40s. And obviously I have done like a decent amount of exploring classical music, unlike Anthony Fantano. And I think about this all the time with music. Like, it is so true. Things get trendy, and then they're not cool anymore, and then they kind of get trendy again and not cool anymore, and you can just see it's so cyclical. It's so mind-blowing. I feel like if someone is able to formulate like an equation or like a theory that like can masterfully explain the cycle to the point where you can actually use it to predict the future, that would be like one of the most powerful sociological theories of all time, because it's so clear looking throughout history that there is some sort of cycle there, but it's just so big and complex. It's actually kind of hard to like, you know, predict what's going to happen in the future. But if you can figure out how to predict the future based off looking at these cycles, you'll be a billionaire. You know, you can freaking invest in you can invest in the stock market and you get freaking super rich if you can predict the future. But I definitely agree. The classical music is a great example, and I think your music is actually a pretty good pretty good example as well.
Yeah.
And I would say also new metal and like alternative metal and just metal in general. Like that was amazing when I was a teenager. Then that was really dumb when I was in college. And now it's like I think people are kind of seeing a little bit more of the appeal of it again. It's kind of a funny thing.
Yeah, I'm waiting until like we get a major like actual mall emo metalcore revival. Like, I know it's kind of happening in the underground with like See You Space Cowboy and like bands like that, but I want to see that hit the mainstream again.
Oh, that would be amazing. That would make me so happy. I was gonna say.
I've actually been re-listening to like Attack Attack, and that's actually been somewhat of an influence on sort of post-manifesto material, because I'm trying to include more metal and rock into the formula.
Yeah, that's true. What was the track again? There was one track in particular on your album that I remember standing out as just seeming to have more guitar. I don't know if it was guitar samples or.
Yeah, it was You Wouldn't Download. It was basically with You Wouldn't Download. I found this like old like late '80s crossover thrash kind of sample.
That was so dope.
And just had a drum and bass to it.
Oh man, do you know what that kind of reminds me of? It reminded me of the Public Enemy. It Takes a Nation of Millions to Hold Us Back. The hip hop album from Public Enemy. Because that's like a record with fantastic beats throughout the whole thing. Very old school late 80s hip hop with the sirens and just real explosive beats. And then there's that one song, Channel Zero, where they have that sample of Rain in Hell by Slayer. That's like the sample that's kind of driving the song. And it just having that like one song in the middle of the record that was like way more like rock and metal kind of influenced in the samples just was like such a satisfying thing. And I felt like that kind of happened in your record too. Like your record, I kind of said in the review, which, you know, if you're watching this interview and haven't seen the review yet, it's on YouTube. I say that I like this record so much because it has such good dynamics. Like it's not just like the same thing the whole time. Like you can feel like it's like you're sprinting and then you kind of like slow down a bit so you can take a breath and then you sprint again. Like it's like it keeps you interested. It keeps you interested.
Yeah, that was a conscious decision with like the track listing.
Good. That's good.
It was about like spacing apart. That's generally the approach. Not only with like. Sometimes I feel like I do that with the quality of the tracks, where I feel like if I'm iffy on a track, but like I don't hate it enough to just completely throw it out of the album, I just sandwich it in between two really good tracks.
Yeah, that's
the art form.
That is a very good way of doing it. I think that's every artist's little secret, not just in terms of music, but I think writers as well. Like if you're writing like an essay or whatever, you can have like one paragraph that's just super explosive, and it's gonna like it's like the real paragraph of the essay that's gonna blow everyone's mind, and then you have like another similar paragraph. You kind of want to like go hot, and then maybe cool down a bit, and then hot, and then cool down a bit. So that way you constantly are like pulling people in to keep getting to the end. So there's never a moment that goes on too long where they're like, I'm tired of this. Let's freaking get the
Whenever an artist tells you, like if they're in the middle of making an album and they say, oh, I really like all of these tracks equally, they're a goddamn liar.
Yeah.
There's always favorites. And they strategically make sure that you hear the favorites and you hear the one that's a little lackluster, and then you hear the favorite again.
Exactly. It's not an easy task, but you know that's the sign of an artist, is that you're thinking that bigger picture. Because for a lot of people, obviously, just making one song enough is hard, so hard that you can't even think that far ahead in the future regarding how am I going to do a full freaking album and make it all cohesive. But I do like that, and it comes through. That's why I also said in the review, like artistically, it's quite an achievement, because I can tell, you know, as a musician myself, like I can just picture yourself in the driver's seat putting the album together and thinking about these kind of complex things.
Yeah.
So I guess I'm kind of curious, like, what do you think is going to be coming next with Kaizo Slumber? It sounds like you said you were already kind of thinking about.
Oh, I've already been working on like a bunch of tracks. I'd actually finished the Kaizo Manifesto back in May, and it got kind of pushed back a bit because logistics. Yeah. So I've been working on stuff, and like I said, I was working on those, like adding in those rock and metal elements, even doing some like vocals, and I'm sort of doing a digital hardcore thing with a distinctly Kaizo Slumber digital hardcore stuff that also takes like major influence from modern hardcore. Because I think that's the problem with, as much as I like a lot of the current digital hardcore stuff, it doesn't, like, it pulls a little bit more from industrial than it does like mainstream current hardcore, like hardcore techno. So stuff like up-tempo or Frenchcore, those are influences that are going to be baked into the new Kaizo Slumber material. So it's going to be a distinctly, like, it's something that some Eurotrash gabber who goes to DEFCON can enjoy just as much as like a New York hardcore guy can enjoy. That's the goal.
Well, you're kind of. It sounds like you're already kind of getting there with your debut Kaizo Manifesto, and I'm so impressed. So how did you kind of get your music, like, I don't know, out there and kind of like building out a fan base and stuff at such a young age through Ace Tantina and now Kaizo Slumber? Like, it's very very impressive that you've already kind of managed to build an audience, and obviously a big part of that is just because your music is extremely interesting and entertaining and good. Yeah. But I don't know if you have any other kind of interesting kind of parts of the story to that.
I think the approach has kind of changed as I changed genres. So when I was first like doing chiptune stuff, I uploaded on like chiptune forums, and I'd already had like a little bit of a sort of friend group from being in like Mario 64 ROM hacking and Mario 64 like machinimas, if you know what that is.
Machinima, that is a YouTube phenomenon that were those like YouTube videos that like were kind of made from video games, basically, something like that?
Yeah, essentially like short films, like goofy videos made with like game engines.
Yeah, so that right there, you just tapped so deep into a layer of my brain that has not been tapped into for decades. That
haven't been tapped in my brain for a few years.
You just said machinima, right? Machinima?
Yeah, machinima.
Holy crap. I should start using machinima as one of my YouTube keywords. So when people search machinima, Punk Revolution now comes up. Because whoever's still searching machinima in 2022, is machinima still a freaking thing today? Do people still...
Channels. Well, the thing is that there's still like there's like the Mario 64 machinima community is still going on, but they don't call them machinimas anymore. They call them the new term. Well, it's not a new term, but people call them bloopers, like the Mario 64 blooper videos. And there's like even a sort of distinction between the two. Like machinima is for like the more serious, artful short films, and the bloopers are like the goofy like videos.
Wow.
Yeah, I'm
thinking this is like soaking. This is sinking in right now. Like there's so the Super Mario 64 community that are essentially still making machinimas, but call them bloopers because the term machinima is not in style anymore, so we call them bloopers. This is all like some of the nerdiest stuff I've ever heard in my entire life. That is like the most nerdy thing I've ever heard. But I mean I'm gonna look it up on YouTube, and maybe I can make some video. Maybe I should make some machinimas on my channel.
Absolutely, rock machinimas. Someone in chat mentioned SMG4, and I think that's like one of the main guys. Who are doing Mario 64 bloopers, and they're like really popular with 12-year-olds.
Yeah, I've definitely have seen those on YouTube before, for sure. I guess it's true. Those YouTubers, they get big and they don't necessarily go away. They still put videos out, you know? Wow. Okay, so... So one thing I wanted to say too that was really, really funny to me was that one Rate Your Music review that was like... complaining about the fact that you had like Kaizo Worldwide B-word like in your album too much. So then I did like that satirical review where I was like, this is a good album, but the cuss words hurt my ears, because it's like, bro, this is such a good album, and you're gonna let that, which is like a really fun, cool thing, like bother you. Like you need to, you're not listening to this music for the right reason if you're letting the tags irritate you, bro. Those are some good ass tags. You know?
Yeah.
So I thought that was really funny.
I think because it's the RYM mindset is like it's an album. It's going to be like this wholly, like full experience, and it's going to be artful and serious. The cover is a Pepsi Man parody. I don't know what you expected. It's kind of goofy. It's kind of in your face. That's the. I mean, of course, I still have like a serious concept behind it, but there's going to be like humor injected into it. It's going to be a bit goofy sometimes.
Yeah, the Rate Your Music community is not. I mean, we gotta talk nice about Rate Your Music, or else they're gonna come and give all our albums 0 stars. But
they're 80% of my audience. I have to be nice to them.
Yeah, exactly, dude. They're all in the chat right now. I was just gonna say, like, I did approach your album from kind of a sort of, as a music critic, wanting to get some sort of artistic fulfillment out of it. And I really did, obviously, given the positive review. But I think my interpretation of what an album being really artistically fulfilling is different than the idea of what a Rate Your Music nerd has in mind. Going through albums, at the very beginning of the year, trying to find stuff and trying to find whatever. I don't even know what goes through their mind. I wish I could go back to my mindset when I was back on Rate Your Music as like an 18-year-old or whatever, and just try to remember why would I give certain scores. And the answer was just, I didn't think that hard about it. And I was just being a pretentious dingus on the internet. Which I respect, because I'm still a pretentious dingus on the internet. So, no bad feelings. But
you're a music critic, it's your job. It's
exactly. I get paid to do this. Not very much, but I get paid something. Yeah, no one hates the Rate Your Music community more than Rate Your Music yourself. Okay, there we go. Good point. But yeah, like I know how it goes. People are like trying to, like, they've got their curve on the website where they want to make sure they have a normal curve. So they give a lot of albums bad reviews and stuff, and they listen to it once, but they give it yeah.
I've seen people with like messed up curves where they're like mostly negative albums. Like they have 3 quadrillion 0.5s and maybe like 2 1s.
If that's you need therapy.
At that point, like, why do you listen to music?
Yeah, here we go. We got No Agreements
Records.
Records.
Don't enjoy it.
No Agreements Records. They've been nice to us though. Thank you, Rate Your Music. Yeah, they've been good. But the reason they've been good to the No Agreements music is because the No Agreements music is really freaking good. So I will say like if I had to pick any music critic of like, if someone asked me like, so I'm trying to get into music, what are some good music critics I should follow? I would say, you know what? I think one of the best sources of finding new music in terms of finding honest, reasonable scores is Rate Your Music. I think you just given the system of many people voting, it's like a little bit more democratic, and it's more like statistically an honest view of a certain album. I think that's a pretty good metric.
And has a pretty large baked-in user base, which gives a lot of
randomization.
You get more opinions, the better.
Exactly. Okay, so yes. So yeah, it sounds like you've been just kind of on the grind, going on chiptune forums, growing with Ace Tantina, and now you're doing the Kaizo Slumber, and you got No Agreements, got the team working on getting your album, and it's getting your album out there, and it sounds like it's going well, and I have a lot of optimism about the additional stuff you put out in the future, as well as just already what you've already put out is just awesome. So I want to talk about music copyright, because this is something that's been on my mind a lot, and I bet as someone who really makes a ton of electronic music and uses all sorts of samples and understands from the artist's perspective how borrowing and sharing and copying ideas is like so inherent to the artist's like journey and creative process, that copyright law is absolutely extremely ignorant. I'm gonna make a video about this. I gotta make a video about it because I just have so many feelings about this. Yeah,
I think music, just like it's art and it's inherently iterative. There's no such thing as an original idea.
Yeah,
art is just people ripping the previous generation off and like maybe adding some kind of thing to it. That's just the evolution of art, and that's going to include sampling. People taking samples of things and sort of modifying them and making new things out of them. Like if I were to sample a pop song and I turned it into like this glitchy sound collage thing, you can't really claim that I'm somehow like infringing on like I'm trying to take credit and try and take the audience, because I think that's what essentially what copyright law is made to do. It's not really about like protective creative integrity. It's meant to keep maintain wealth of major music corporations. So if I take this pop song and turn it into like a glitchy, mangled mess, so basically 50% of Bandcamp, can you really say I infringed on that audience? Or like infringed on the copyright? Because that's not only transformative in like an artistic sense, it's literally legally transformative. Because essentially, in legal jargon, transformative means will this audience of the infringing material go to that material as opposed to the one that had been sampled, right? And I just don't think that's the case with so much sampling. I think people, the reason why people listen to like city pop now, like mainly Western audience listens to city pop, even like years after that trend had died out and like it had no connection to like the Western world, was because of vaporwave and future funk. I think sampling brings new life to old music, and it works as like a preservation of old music.
Yeah,
and I don't think.
Oh gosh, I mean, it's like, can you think of a single artist in the world who would find out that another artist sampled them and used their work to like kind of alter it for some other genre, and who would be mad about that? No. Every single honest artist I know with any sort of integrity who's making any sort of good music, if they found out that some artist was out there using it to create samples and to create remixes, whatever, yeah, Bono, exactly. Bono would complain. Yeah, all the freaking rich dinguses would complain because they want to make as much money as possible. But if you're in to making music for the sake of making as much money as possible, please stop making music. We don't want you to make music. The music community does not accept you. If you want to freaking make music, you better be here for like some good, like you better put the art first. And I know a lot of artists, obviously, I want artists to be able to make a living off their music, absolutely. But if the music industry, which the music industry already is like this, if the entire music community just uses the profit motive as the driving factor of why people make music in the first place, it's done. It's dead. There's always going to be an indie scene that exists, I think, that's always like outside of the profit-driven system, because the profit-driven system makes terrible music,
Yeah, and I think that's just their kind of way of preserving, or what's left of their profits is essentially gatekeeping any kind of creative work done with that same material.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. And the thing is it's not just like, okay, maybe, I think it's a complex issue. Like for me, I have very, the opinion that like copyright laws need to be brought down to extreme minimal levels, maybe completely abolished. But I could see someone having more of like a moderate take where like, yes, the copyright laws, maybe we can have some here and there so some artists can, make, money off whatever they write. But the copyright laws we have, at least in the United States and probably all around the world, are just freaking so ridiculous. Like Winnie the Pooh just became a public domain 95 years after Winnie the Pooh was created. 95 years. It's like
not the Disney version of Winnie the Pooh has been put in the public domain. It's the original like 1900s bumfuck naked bear version.
Why do we gotta wait 100 years? 100 years. What is the point of that? Is the creator of Winnie the Pooh is dead? He's not making any money off of it. It doesn't exist for any purpose. It's like, it wasn't, this wasn't a good like financial incentive. Like, oh, I'm gonna create Winnie the Pooh, so when 95 years from now, I'm gonna be rich. That's not why he created Winnie the Pooh. He created Winnie the Pooh because he's a freaking artist. And all that law is in place for is just for whoever, whatever you want to call it. I don't even know if publishing company, Disney, whoever owns it, someone's owning it, just to continue leeching that wealth from society and stifling creativity by not letting people create, Winnie the Pooh fan fiction or whatever the hell. People are going to do it anyways, but you can't do it legally without the rights to the image. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, you hit the nail on the head right there.
Yeah.
I think that's what it boils down to.
It's all about money, but I guess
that's the nice thing about Libya is we barely enforce any of our other laws sometimes, let alone copyright laws.
Yeah. I guess I had a friend who also kind of was like moving around Africa and stuff, and they told me that it is kind of like the Wild West sometimes in terms of the law isn't always, you can a lot of places you can just kind of expect the law to not really more or less exist in a very meaningful way on your day-to-day life.
I think a fun example is like here in Libya, that like any kind of booze is technically illegal, but like every Thursday nights you'll see drunkards on the streets and like dudes doing LSD. It's crazy.
That sounds like fun. Yeah, you just convinced me to come visit Libya. I do have family in Brazil, and I have visited Brazil and South America a decent amount, and it definitely is a very similar vibe in Brazil with
I don't think it's anywhere near as Wild West as Brazil, and also here, because it's completely banned, it's like in the black market, and people put like fucked up shit, like straight up tree bark alcohol in there.
Yeah, but, that sounds bad. That sounds bad. Yeah, I think it's a good life lesson, though, as like getting to visit those countries. For me, I'm lucky. I get to visit Brazil. I enjoy visiting there for a week, but I get to come right back to America, and I don't have to, because it's fun, but to like be there longer than a week gets stressful because there's like actually issues in Brazil with crime and not being a super safe country. But I do think there is a lot of truth to it, though, that in a lot of cases, definitely with like creative stuff, like music and art, like you can just kind of let things roll. Yeah. Don't put all these freaking laws in place to try to just make people find ways to profit. Because if you put these laws in place, the copyright laws and stuff, the game changes. The game changes from make the best art you possibly can, which probably down the line will result in you getting some sort of financial compensation just because people like to buy merch and stuff. But if you put these copyright laws in place, then the game changes to how can I game the system the best I can by putting out low effort, mediocre music but like still having this sort of monopoly in place on my music so I can continue extracting wealth from the rest of society. That's how the game changes. So
yeah, basically other artists now have to walk around eggshells as to not like try to take something from something else.
Yeah, exactly. I will say, your music does prove, and there's lots of great electronic musicians who do prove it's capable. You're still capable of making amazing music, even with these copyright laws in place. You either just have to be super, super careful about what you're sampling, and if you do sample something, maybe have it really hidden in there so you can't get in trouble for it. That's just like, you have to use your energy thinking about that shit, and it pulls you away from like the main thing. It's like we just want to make some good ass music. So I'm glad to hear that you're kind of on the same page, because if there's anyone who might not be happy about, or if there's anyone who would benefit from copyright laws, it's successful musicians. But you're a successful musician who very clearly, explicitly holds the view that no, this is ridiculous and doesn't benefit anyone besides the very, very, very richest artists and very, very, very richest record labels.
Totally.
Yeah.
I think even at some point, I would like actively encourage people to even sample my stuff. But I think it has come to my attention that if you sample some of the stuff that I have sampled other stuff from, that puts the liability on me. And I'm just a good old Libyan boy. I do not want to get my house bombed by Disney Corporation. So, ease off on that.
But bro, Disney's already bombing freaking Libya. I don't know. I that's my new conspiracy. Is there Disney has lobbied the U.S. military to bomb Libya because Kaizo Slumber is illegally sampling neo Winnie the Pooh, not the old Winnie the Pooh or something.
Yeah,
that's how it's gonna happen. Yeah.
I will say, you could sampling any of like the stabs or like kick drums I use. That's totally fair game.
Yes, that is. I encourage all artists. Don't worry about what Kaizo Slumber said. Please sample his stuff. If anyone gets in trouble, it's him, not you. So go nuts. Yeah. That's the takeaway. We're going to ignore everything he said.
Oh boy.
And yes, you wouldn't download. I remember feeling so I remember listening to You Wouldn't Download, thinking, "Damn, this song is awesome." Looking down at my phone to see what the title of the track I was listening to was, so I can remember this is one of my favorites. And then it was You Wouldn't Download, and then I freaking couldn't. I just laughed to myself because that is a freaking hilarious song title. You're here you are making electronic music that is completely dependent, fundamentally dependent on sampling and fundamentally dependent on breaking the law. And then you have this title of this song that just fucking rips. That's just giving the middle finger to this whole concept. And someone here in the chat said, "You Wouldn't Download" is punk. It is punk. That is very punk.
Hell yeah.
So you get the punk seal of approval from me. And I will say, though, shout out to No Agreements Records, because they're just putting out a lot of good music. And, everything I know about Tony and just the whole crew just seems super chill and just very committed to the art over everything else. So it gives, I guess, I do have faith in indie record labels. Indie record labels are a whole different beast. Because, I don't think Sony would let their artist come on and talk about how corrupt the whole system is, given that Sony and other major record labels profit from all these dumb laws that they put in place in the first place, basically. So, yeah.
Exactly. Definitely going back on the indie label stuff, I gotta shout out Tony. Yeah, he really puts a lot of his time and effort into helping all the No Agreements artists and just being a good friend in general. So just publicly putting that out there. City Light Mosaic is rad as fuck.
Yes, City Light Mosaic is very rad. So I'm glad to hear that you feel that way too, because I'd be really embarrassed if I said that and then you were thinking to yourself oh, Tony actually kind of sucks. No, I'm just kidding. But I don't know. I mean, I don't know what it's like from the artist perspective.
I'm good enough friends with him where I could absolutely say that sarcastically.
Good. Yeah. Okay. Good. Yeah. Because I only know Tony just as a friend. He seems super chill, and I couldn't imagine him pissing off.
Actually, Tony sucks balls, and I hate him, and he should die.
Yeah. Anyways, I kind of want to wrap this interview up, maybe in the next 10-15 minutes, just because I don't want it to go on too long. But
it's 3 a.m. here. I need to go to bed.
Okay, then let's just wrap this up then, in the next 5 minutes then, because I don't want because you're up real late. I guess anything else you want to say about your art, your music, any main inspirations, anything that you just want to let the world know about your art and your creative process, or anything?
I guess I could say that I think if you really want to, I'd say this as to people who are generally enjoying the sort of new hardcore break sound, is you need to really listen to the old school breakbeat hardcore tracks. Those are absolutely foundational to the kind of music we make now, and I think it doesn't really get enough appreciation because, like, out of all these like revival genres, like, hardcore breaks is one of those ones that are like completely ravaged by Zoomers who were never really involved with the rave in the '90s, and that includes me. I'm guilty of this, so I definitely think you'll get a much better appreciation of the music by really taking in the history of it and like the history of rave and hardcore in general.
Bro,
Yeah,
you just
that's all I gotta say.
you just moved me with that. That is such amazing advice. I'm gonna start giving similar advice because it goes beyond just EDM and rave, which is absolutely super important. Because you're totally right. There's like a whole new wave of EDM that people can start making EDM inspired by the inspired EDM with completely overlooking the classics and the foundations. But as like a punk artist, any genre, like the foundations, like you gotta like think like if you're learning how to like do math or learning about like the like history, any subject you want to learn about, you gotta start with the like essential foundations, the foundational innovators. That is so freaking important. You can't look over that, and you're gonna see. It's gonna open your eyes. So I really love that advice.
And especially like that early breakbeat hardcore stuff may seem very primitive by today's standards because it was made on like an Atari computer with 2 bytes per hour, and it was like it was run by like a hamster and a wheel. But I guarantee you, it's good stuff in spite of those challenges that those original producers had to do.
Yeah.
So in general, just like
yeah. I mean, if those guys can make some amazing dance music with the most rudimentary systems, then you can absolutely do it in 2022 with your fast ass computer and your torrented software. So you'll be good. By the way, what DAW do you like to use?
I'm an FL Studio man all the way.
I want to kind of learn more about FL Studio because there's some dank ass music that comes out from people who use FL Studio.
Yeah, I think FL Studio kind of has this reputation that it's like it's for bitch babies and it's for 12 years old babies' first music doll application. But you know, it's powerful stuff. You can make fantastic stuff with it.
Yeah. That sounds very. I mean, that's the most important thing. It doesn't matter, everyone needs to chill out. Stop caring what the internet tells you is a good.
I know musicians use Audacity. Okay, anything is possible.
Dude, you can make amazing music in Audacity. The important thing is you're able to make good music. I don't give a crap. I think anyone who looks down upon FL Studio needs to get their head checked because I know so many amazing artists making amazing music out of FL Studio. So.
Exactly.
Great stuff. I love this conversation. I definitely want to stay in touch. Like, hopefully we can chat more. Obviously, we're on Discord and I'm around. But like I said, I want to get you to New York someday. I will, Tony and I will work together to make something happen for you somehow or whatever. Tony will do it. I don't want to actually do it. It'll just make Tony do it all. But if you're in New York, come hit me up and we will hang out. And I want to come to freaking Libya and hang out too because you're chill AF, and you're super inspirational. Love your music. Congrats on the album release. And
I really appreciate that.
I'm just really, really inspired by this conversation, and I will see you around, man.
I'll see you.
All right, see you, dude. Bye.
See you. I'm off to bed. Good night, everybody.
Good night.